And this, CNN. In the early hours of July 2nd, an apparent explosion caused significant damage at a key building at the Natanz nuclear plant in Iran. Just a week earlier, a major explosion hit the outskirts of Tehran, where a missile production facility is located. Then this past Wednesday, a fire blazed through Iran's key port of Bushehr on the Persian Gulf, setting multiple ships aflame. And these are just three of a string of fires, explosions, and unexplained incidents in Iran this past few weeks. Here to explain, hopefully, is Dalia Dasake. She is the director for the Center for Middle East Public Policy at the RAND Corporation and has published a piece in the Washington Post about this mystery. So Dalia, at the very simplest level, who is behind all this stuff?
Well, the short answer is obviously we don't know, but given the targets that you just noted, the nuclear facilities that are quite sensitive, the missile production facility, a lot of, I think, analysis are suggesting that the Israelis are likely implicated in at least some of these explosions. The Israelis have not been shy about their concern about Iran resuming its nuclear activities. In recent years, it's been particularly worried about Iran's missile production, especially precision-guided missiles. And Israel has a record of targeting nuclear facilities in the region of adversarial states, and specifically has been reported to be involved in cyber attacks and other covert activities in Iran itself. So I don't think this is completely out of context, or it certainly fits a pattern that we've seen in the past. And most critically, it's coming in the context of rising U.S.-Iran escalation. And there are many, I think, who think the timing, the Israelis might look at this timing as particularly good. They have a pretty permissive administration in Washington right now for these kinds of attacks. So we don't know, but I think there are a lot of signals pointing to the Israelis having some involvement in this.
Explain the importance of Natanz and what happened there.
Well, Natanz is particularly important because that's a facility that produces advanced centrifuges, which is, without getting into all the technical details of how Iran could produce eventually a nuclear weapon, this is a site that's been attacked in the past because if Iran advances its centrifuge production to a certain level, the concern is it would be able to take its civilian nuclear program and weaponize it. And this is actually what the Iran nuclear agreement back in 2015 was about. It was about ensuring that Iran would be prevented from being able to weaponize its civilian nuclear program. And since the American withdrawal from the nuclear deal in 2018, this is when we've seen the Iranians begin to violate a lot of the restrictions that were in the agreement. They're not sprinting to a bomb by any means. They took very measured actions. But this facility is a target. It's been a target in the past because it would allow Iran to advance its centrifuge production to worrying levels in terms of the breakout time to be able to weaponize its program. So it's not a I think it's a site that would be expected to be targeted if Israel or others are behind and would like to see a setback in the Iranian nuclear program.
So when I look at this, Dalia, it strikes me that we're sort of back, we've almost gone back 10 years because, as you say, the Iran nuclear deal was meant to prevent all this. The Iranians were adhering to it. We are now back to the point 10 years ago where they were building up nuclear capacity that could be weaponized. The Israelis or the Americans engaged in a massive cyber attack on Iran's centrifuges in Natanz. And here we are doing it again. So, I mean, are we just back to where we were 10 years ago?
Well, I don't want to be that alarmist yet. We are going backwards. We're not quite where we were 10 years ago. Thankfully, the Iran nuclear agreement is still hanging by a thread. There are nuclear inspectors still in Iran. They're getting challenged more frequently now, but they're still there. We don't have enrichment levels and capacity for Iran to be able to break out within weeks, which was what kind of the concern by some accounts were before the nuclear agreement was negotiated. So we're not quite there yet, but we're certainly at a dangerous moment. And I think what's particularly different now is the context. As I said, it's not just concern that the Israelis, and there frankly are reports that the United States and the Israelis may even be coordinating these covert attacks in Iran itself. under the cover of the Trump administration's maximum pressure campaign. So what's a little different is it's not just a kind of a targeting, tactical targeting of nuclear sites and other military sites in Iran to kind of set back programs that are warring to its neighbors for good reasons. The difference now is that there's a lot of confusion about what the ultimate aims of maximum pressure are. And I think there's some perception in Iran and abroad that these activities may be aimed at going beyond just degrading Iranian nuclear or other military capabilities to actually destabilizing the country itself. And given the tempo of these attacks over the course of a few weeks, as well as the broader escalation we've seen, especially in the past year, with Iran starting to lash out, attacking oil tankers, attacking the U.S. drone, culminating in the U.S. attack against General Soleimani in January, which led to direct U.S.-Iranian conflict, a missile attack against American bases in Iraq. This is, now moving from a shadow war into a direct war. This is a escalation we have not seen. This is no longer just about the nuclear program. This is becoming a broader question about what are U.S. objectives when it comes to Iran.
And Dalia, we don't have a lot of time, but would you say when you look at the Israeli behavior here, is there something going on here where they feel like they have this last window of opportunity because Donald Trump is president and will support any move taken by them?
Well, as I said, they certainly have what they perceive as a green light from Washington. If the reports are correct, they may have more than that, where it might be actually a coordinated campaign. So I think, there's a lot of merit to that argument. I think the Israelis, as well as the Americans, also do see Iran as incredibly vulnerable right now. The sanctions have really taken a toll. The pandemic, unrest within the country, societal protests ongoing. So I think, the Israelis may very well think this is a window, an opportune time to act and degrade Iran's capabilities.
I got to cut you off there. We are out of time. Dalia, that was fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.